Where does meaning come from? Well, it's always a good thing to define our terms, and this is one of those times when it's especially important, because what we mean by meaning is not the meaning of words, but purpose. Where does purpose come from? When we wake up every day and we have to decide what to do, we have to ask why we're doing it. What's the purpose? What's the goal? What's the end? What are we shooting for? This is called, in philosophy, teleology. Teleology. Teleology, the study of ends, design, or purposes. And the truth of the matter is that there are no meanings, there is no end or purpose that has any genuine value if it remains strictly in the natural realm, in the created order. This is precisely the message of the book of Ecclesiastes, when Solomon decides to take a look at what life would be like if all there was that which was under the sun. That language of under the sun is the language of naturalism, and he reaches the conclusion, rightly so, that vanity of vanities, all is vanity. But you don't have to take Solomon's word for it, because existential philosophers have reached much the same conclusion in arguing that there is no transcendence of any kind, that we live in a naturalistic universe, and that we are created, even that's not the right word because it requires intentionality. We're the product of accidents, and we live in a what some existentialists would call a hostily indifferent universe. There's not enough, because there's none, personhood to actually be hostile, but the indifference is so damaging that it seems hostile. So we live in a hostily indifferent universe, and then we die. And so the existentialist says, well, how do we find meaning? And their best solution is we make it up. It's not real. It can't be real. But we're going to be brave and heroic, and we're going to act as if it's real. We're going to choose to treat it as if it's real. And this is somehow supposed to give us dignity. But it doesn't. It's nonsense. There can be no meaning if the life ends at the end of our lives. So meaning ultimately comes from that which is eternal. Meaning can only come from transcendent, that is above the here and the now, giver of meaning. Now, in the Reformed version of the evangelical church, we have a saying that says this, that the chief end or goal or purpose, the chief end of man is to glorify God and to enjoy Him forever. We were made, friends, for worship. This is why St. Augustine, in his classic work, The Confession of St. Augustine, writes these words, "Our hearts are restless, O Lord, until they find their rest in Thee." We exist, our purpose, our end, is the worship and enjoyment of God Himself. And anything less than that will always leave us wanting more, will always leave us dissatisfied, will always fail. It's interesting that at the end of the day, the problem with idolatry is not just that it's an affront to the living God, but that it is also profoundly dissatisfying to us. It doesn't feed us as it ought. So what's the source? Where does meaning come from? It comes from being in a relationship of worship and being loved by the living and true God.